Hey, hi, hello. Welcome back to another video here in my short pilot series. This is about investing. This is about financial independence, retire early, personal finance, financial literacy, all that kind of stuff. So who am I? Why should you listen to me? I'm 39 years old. I recently reached my Coast FIRE number, which in financial independence, retire early, the FIRE community, that's the number that you need to have, the amount of dollars you need to have invested in your investment accounts. Do not have to put in another dollar today and have a fully funded, comfortable retirement at retirement age. So come 65, if I never choose to invest another dollar today, I'll have more than enough to support myself through retirement. But what I'm going to talk about here in this video is what is FIRE, okay? What does that really mean? What does that mean to me? What it might mean to you guys? So FIRE, in short, stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. And I discovered this as an online community. I'm sure the principles probably all existed, in the beginnings of the internet before YouTube and whatever, but I really found out about it through YouTube, probably around 2016, I think. I don't think anything earlier really came across my feed or whatnot. Anything earlier, I don't really recall. I think 2016 was sort of a pivotal year for me, and I'll get into that later, but I remember sort of Googling kind of like side hustle things. I kind of wanted to start like selling stuff on Etsy. I was already doing like eBay sort of side hustling kind of stuff I kind of learned from following Gary Vaynerchuk, another guy in like sort of the financial literacy business space. I'd recommend watching some of his videos if you get a chance. But so, Googling, YouTubing like side hustles, how to sell on eBay, how to sell on Etsy. And I came across, going further down that rabbit hole, I came across like investing, how to invest in a brokerage account, in a 401k, Roth IRA, that kind of stuff. And then keep going down that rabbit hole. I kept finding these creators that reached financial independence, and I really didn't know what that meant at the time. I didn't really understand. And what that means is you're completely detached from having to use your time to earn money. Well, not completely, but like everything is under your control, whether it's you have your own business, you're using investment accounts, you've done it with real estate. Like you're not dependent on getting a corporate job or working the 9 to 5 behind a desk or working retail or whatever, any type of what you call a job, you're detached from that. You earn enough money all under your control to cover your expenses. So, and it's a crazy concept to think about that was even possible. I didn't really know at the time that like you could do that. And it was so eye-opening for me. And it also felt a little gimmicky. Yeah, it was like, nah, this can't be real. Like, you can't do that. Like, you can't, you gotta wait till you're like retirement age to have that kind of money. And there's no way you can do it in your 30s or in your 40s. And like 50s is even pushing it. Like everybody I know, parents, relatives, they all worked until their 60s, and it's like, and I was just completely flabbergasted almost that like that was possible. So for a little bit I didn't really believe it, I watched some videos and didn't really think much of it. But I sort of kept always coming back to the idea, and I dug in even further. And then I actually did like some calculations and crunched some numbers and figured out that like me, 2016 me, it wasn't going to be possible, but it was possible. It really was. If you add up all of your expenses, whether it's you're like renting or paying a mortgage, which is probably your biggest expense, then like, do you have transportation costs and your groceries, your food, that kind of stuff. And those are really your essentials. And then like after that, everything is sort of extra. So when you add up just those costs, it's not actually that much. It's not that much per month, and it's not that much per year. So if you just need to replace $20,000 to $30,000 a year with something, whether that's investments in stocks, a small business, real estate, it's totally possible. And at the time, my salary was so low that like I was already living at that number, like comfortably, and surviving and fine and having fun and enjoying my life. I was even sort of paying more for stuff like rent and kind of like entertainment and stuff living in a big city. So like when you think about that, it's like, well, could I move to a different location and even lower that cost? So it kind of gets you thinking. It's like, well, if you didn't have a job, if you were detached from that, you could live anywhere, and then you're paying even less. So at the time I was already living on a pretty low salary. So it was like, I only need to replace like $35,000 to $40,000, not even if that, like I could even live on less than that, because also like, well, now I don't need to pay monthly transportation costs because I'm not going into a job. Now if I didn't go into a job, I wouldn't be so pressured to like get lunch at Chipotle, 3 times a week. I would just make my food at home. It's like that's all becomes more under your control. So then those costs your like food costs get lowered. Some people have to go into an office and wear like a suit and tie or just like look very nice and presentable. Like for a while, yeah, I had to wear like button-up shirts and khakis and nice shoes, and that stuff costs more. You got to have more of that kind of on hand. A different shirt every day so you don't look like you're not changing your clothes. So it's like you got to buy that kind of stuff, and that stuff wears out. You got to buy it again. You got to buy a new pair of shoes every year. You got to look presentable. Being in an office, some people have to look even more presentable than others. And you think about it, if you're buying like suits and ties and jackets, shoes, all the time, how much, those costs add up. And if you didn't have to do that, you don't have those expenses anymore. So take a sip of my coffee here. But yeah, the more and more I thought about it, the more I realized it's totally possible. So, which is great because it was life-changing, and it gave me this sense of motivation and drive that I think I'd never had before. To be like, you could narrow that window or narrow the light at the end of the tunnel. Like you can pull it closer to you. You could control it more. instead of having to wait until you're like in your 60s or even 70s. And the more and more I learned about it, the more and more motivated I got. So you think about it, like we all have to get to retirement somehow. And you may be lucky enough to have a pension or an inheritance, but Social Security isn't going to cover all your expenses. So like we all have to figure out a way to get there eventually. And me personally, I just value figuring out how to get there sooner and understanding that that's in my control, because I really don't want to work until I'm 65, until I'm 70. You hear too many stories that people don't even get a retirement at all. You know, they pass away before their 60s. And it's very sad to me that that's a potential reality. And I want to be spending my time doing things I love with the people I love. So, you know, I want to be able to exercise in the middle of my day, take a walk whenever I want to, sleep as long as I want to. Not that I actually don't really sleep in that much at all, but it's nice to not wake up to an alarm clock. I want to work on the hobbies that I want to work on, achieve the goals that I want to achieve, whether that be writing music, learning how to sell things online, creating things, making things. You know, at the end of the day, I don't feel like always having to be strapped to a desk or a time clock come middle age doesn't sound appealing to me. I think by then, you know, I actually technically am middle age, and yeah, I'm finding like by now I'm sort of like professionally I've learned and dealt with and achieved enough that like I'm okay. Like I'm skilled at what I do, I'm confident in what I do. And to me, that's all that really matters. I've been doing it for a long time, and I'm gonna still keep doing it for a little longer. But I'm just so much more motivated to take back more control of my time, because that's more important to me, because that's something that I'm not going to get back. And if I don't figure out how to do the things I want to do in life now or soon, it's just going to get that much harder, which is scary to think about. So, and the stuff I want to do requires time, you know. I want to be physically fit. I want to find more hobbies and create more things that I like creating. I want to make more videos like this. I want to learn how to do this better. So, in a nutshell, that's my long explanation of financial independence, retire early, what that is, sort of how I found out about it, what's motivated me to keep going. And in later videos, we'll get into more concrete concepts and even numbers and things like that. But, if you come across this and you feel like the whole concept is crazy and it's never going to work, that can't work, it's risky, I think it's actually risky not to try to do this, for sure. So if you think any of those, I'm here to tell you that that's not true. Like, my experience, it's not true. And if I don't get to an early retirement, I'm gonna at least know that I was extremely motivated in trying, and I'm gonna land somewhere that is beyond my wildest expectations. Also, it's not completely about just like never working again. And it just opens up options. Like, you could take a part-time job, get back more of your time. You could take a less paying job just because you like to do it. You can get paid less, completely learn a new skill from the ground up. And it doesn't matter what you get paid because you're financially independent. So I like the fact that it opens up so many options. And even now, as I'm at my Coast Fire number, that opens up so many options, because I technically could start doing that. Like, removing the expense of having to put money into retirement accounts month after month and investment accounts. Technically, I don't have to do that. So you think about how much money that frees up, and whether or not I want to continue, whether or not I could just work less, because I don't need that expense technically. My accounts and the money I have invested now would cover something like my rent, would cover my groceries perfectly fine. So when you think about that, it's like it just opens up so many more options, which I love. I love to take back that control, to feel like I have more control over my time. Because thinking about me back in 2016, 2015, I started working professionally in 2012, and every year that goes by, I'm like, I don't have as much control over my destiny and my time as I should, because, we only get one life. We can't get back any more time. So, anyways, I think this is probably the longest video I've made so far, but I think it's probably one of the most important ones. And I just want to shed more light on this, I guess you call it a movement. I think more and more people are figuring out how to do this, figuring out that they want to do it, figuring out that it's probably the best path in life that you could probably pursue, and understand that you got to get there someday. And maybe you don't want to do that, and you do love what you do and who you do it for, and that's fine too. This channel probably isn't for you, but I just know over these last years, I just get more and more motivated to keep going down this rabbit hole and this path. And currently right now, I make a lot more money than I did 8 to 10 years ago when I first started. But like, I mean, it's like I don't have to do side hustles. I don't have to do anything like that. I can survive perfectly fine on the income that I make. I don't have to invest anything, but I still keep going. So like, I want these videos to also be my testament that like, keep going and don't stop. Like, because it's also, I'll tell you, it's not easy too. So I've made mistakes. You will make mistakes. People have made mistakes. But it's just such an amazing path to feel like every day, every month, every year that goes by, like I'm working towards buying more of my most important asset, which is time. So anyways, if you have any comments, any reactions, please let me know. Please like and follow. And I can't wait to see you in the next video. So have a great day.